the first in a series of what I'm calling Love Talks that I'm hosting during the month of February. They're going to happen every Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it's my way, along with my guests that are joining me, to help support and inspire you to have a better and more meaningful dating life or relationship in your life. And tonight we're kicking off with talking about how to utilize online dating as an effective tool to extend your reach and meet that Mr. or Mrs. Wonderful. Nicole Haley is joining me tonight. She is a relationship navigator, and this has been a hot topic for her and her business. She runs a series of events throughout Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And between both her and I, we're going to be giving you some hot tips and actionable items to start implementing into your online dating life to create some positive change. My name is Andrea Hill. If you haven't watched one of my blabs before, or you're not familiar with me, I created a company called The Dinner Party. And it was my mission and mandate to create a service for people outside of all the other tools that are available out there to you, to help people come together that were like-minded and shared the same relationship desires to meet and connect authentically over a lovely meal. So I offer that service in British Columbia, in the Okanagan Valley, Vancouver, BC, as well as Victoria, BC, but with big plans to spread that globally. And in addition, I do dating support services, much like Nicole does, where I offer services to help support you outside of maybe attending one of my dinners in having a really positive and happy dating experience instead of a frustrating or hard one. And part of that mission is this series that we have kicked off tonight. So Nicole, I'm going to throw it over to you so you can let people know a little bit more about you and what it is that you do.
Sure. Hello, I'm Nicole, and I call myself a relationship navigator, mainly because I find when we're in relationships or dating, we're really navigating the water, whether we're really great at it or uncertain. It's more like giving you the tools and the resources to make it happen. I work with men and women, majority of women, all about how to find and attract that person. And just recently, I did a workshop all about how to meet someone online. And so tonight it's great because you'll be able to get some of those tips that I shared from my workshop and maybe even a bit more from Andrea's experience and maybe from your own, and we'll be able to tap into that this evening. So I'm really excited to share that with you. Feel free, if you want to check me out further, you can look on my website if you want some ideas at nicole-haley.com. That's where you can find me, or on Facebook to get you going. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Marvelous. Well, thanks for being here. And Nicole has a beautiful new website, so I highly encourage you to go check it out. We'll post the links in the comments throughout the event, and definitely at the end, so you can see how you can reach out to either one of us should you want a little further information or support in your dating life. So we're going to jump into the world of online dating. And I guess what my first question to you, Nicole, would be is what you're seeing happening in online dating right now. And what I'll say is that it's not just the traditional online dating sites that we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about some of the apps as well, because technically you are online when you're using those. So the Tinders and the Hitch and the new ones that have all started to come out of the woodwork, and what you think about them, what ones you think are maybe most effective, and does it really matter if, are there ones that are better for some people and not others?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sure. I think there's a variety of options out there. You've got your classics that have been around for a really long time, such as your POF and eHarmony, Match.com, and each one of those has their value and what they're going to target. And then you've got new ones such as your Timber, you have Bumble, which are all these apps that are new. So it depends what you're looking for and what kind of investment you're making. I tend to find people will kind of put themselves on all of those sites at some point, or maybe a few. But when you're really looking at finding somebody, you want to really get clear on what is the person or the type of person you want to be with and where you might find them. So classically, like an eHarmony, lots of questions. I kind of find people who are going to invest in a long process maybe have children, have more areas that they're trying to navigate, will tend to lean to that, where there's a lot more screening involved. When you go to something like your Match or your POF, that tends to bring in a different crowd as well. I find your Match, people tend to think that if you're paying for a service, there's going to be higher quality people, but I don't always think that's the case anymore. I think people are looking for just about anywhere to get noticed or to find somebody. And then you've got your POF, which is kind of like the broad spectrum. It's where I started at one point. I moved to Match and went back to POF at one point. So I've kind of played with them all at one stage or another. And then I find your OkCupid, if you're familiar with that, it's kind of like a very diverse group. So you've got just about anything you're looking for available on that site. So it really depends. And if you're looking at something like Tinder, that's a lot of image-based. And so what I'm noticing more now is people are so wanting to see a visual first before they read through the profiles. And so you're going for that kind of style. Tinder is definitely a great way to access that if your photos really stand out and really showcase who you are so you don't get missed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find more and more people are sliding into Tinder, and Tinder has the benefit as well as you can go into a different city. And if you're just in the dating mentality and you want to go out with people and connect and have a good time, then it's a great tool for that. But I think the online dating sites, ones that I think maybe get taken a little bit more seriously and they're a little bit more relationship minded are, the J dates, the ones that are specific to faith or religion, Match, which is continuing to evolve. Match.com group, by the way, everybody is buying up all of these sites. So that's something to keep in mind as well. They've just purchased Tinder, actually, and they just purchased POF and OKC, chemistry.com, match.com. Those are all under the same umbrella of that company. So it'll be really interesting to see how those things evolve. The company's supposed to be going public this year, so it'll be interesting to see what changes come about. I agree wholeheartedly with you, Nicole, and knowing which ones are best for you. So let's maybe touch on the ones that are more relationship involved and how you can really research and know which ones are best for you. Okay.
So my favorites, I guess, are like your Match and your POF, I would say. And then it depends, again, if you want to go on the JDs, the more of the religious aspect. Because I tend to find people who are going to invest money tend to show up that way. But like I said, you might have yourself on a few of these sites. So when you're looking at where you want to invest your time, you want to take in consideration of like how much time you want to invest and how much time the people are going to invest back. And really when you're looking at what site to use, you're more looking not so much as the platform, but how you're going to show up on that site and what you're looking for when you're screening the individuals. So you could use a variety of different platforms on some aspect, but it's what you're looking for and how you present yourself on those platforms that are going to make you successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's jump into how you're, expressing yourself or showing up on these sites. And a lot of people, men in particular, are visual creatures. So let's maybe jump into photos to start off with. So what are you seeing as sort of the common error or place where people are missing using their photos to their advantage?
Yeah, I describe your photo as like your door opener. So when you go to a pub or a restaurant or a bar or walking down the street, we're always looking at people and we're checking people out or making eye contact. We're visual, men and women. So that's our first engagement. However, your photo is the opener and then your profile is what keeps them there. So you want to have a great way to bring them in, draw them in. And I find our photos a lot of times aren't really showing that aspect. And so we may have dimmed lighting, we may not have the greatest outfit, we may have pictures where we have other people with us that then pull the attention away. So we tend to not really showcase the best quality or the best angle even on that first photo. And that's really what's drawing people in to look at you or check out your profile even. Mm-hmm.
So let's touch on some of the obvious things. A lot of people aren't smiling in their photos.
right?
And smiling is the easiest way to engage someone, whether that be out on the street or with your online profile. But if someone's looking either a little mad or literally mad, it's not really a great invitation to invite those people into your profile. So do you think like your main profile shot should really focus on being a headshot and, as you said, well lit?
Yeah.
What else should they consider?
At the camera. You really want to look at the camera. You want a big smile. If you're female, you want to have like some soft makeup. You want to really show that feminine aspect, that soft look, that inviting, that draws men in. So you get that perspective. And men, I find, tend to have great photos, but not always great photos. And so men, you really want to make sure that you're showcasing yourself as well. You'd be amazed how fast women will swipe left or right, I guess left, and disqualify you by your photos. And I think we did a disservice when we're not really showcasing that, who we are in a first image. So yeah, smiling's key, lighting, quality of what you're wearing, who's in the picture beside you. And I've even seen people where they've got sunglasses on that front photo, which is really hard then to draw someone in because you don't have eye contact. So yeah, those are a few things you want to watch for. Mm-hmm.
And being current.
Yes.
Current photos within the last 6 months, a year max. But current photos, it's all about transparency and being honest about who you are. And in this day and age with the phones that we have, you can fire off a great photo very quickly and look great. And I've seen a lot of people that are putting actually the date and when, which just, again, instills confidence in people. Mm-hmm. So that when they show up to finally meet each other, that they're going to see the person that they see on the online profile. Yeah. And I just have a little mention about your headshot, that it should be just you, that you haven't blocked someone else out or your ex, or there's a big group shot and you're not sure who it is. And then it's not until the last photo you're realizing whose profile you're actually looking at. Be brave and put yourself right out there on your first photo. And also be aware what's happening behind you. You know, dirty dishes or laundry or an unkept bed, or, I mean, there's no need to take the pictures in the mirror with the phone in front of you anymore. There's new technology for that. So please stop. Just do a lovely headshot with you smiling and you're well lit. And sorry, Nicole, what else were you going to say?
I was going to say, you can even get a friend to help you with that if you need it. Like, start being bold and asking. The majority of people are online, so the embarrassment and the shaming isn't necessary anymore. And so you can even just ask a friend, or if you're looking really good that day, get a stranger to take your picture and get that current photo, right? I've had quite a few of my clients say, okay, I asked this guy on the street or this woman walking by, and is that okay? And it's like, yeah, if you look great, do it. Like, maximize that time. And when you're feeling really good, it's going to come out in your picture. And when you're feeling awkward and uncomfortable, it really shows. And that's probably not who you are. So you really want that natural feeling. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. And you want your picture to represent not only who you are, but what you want. So be very careful. I see a lot of people falling into, women in particular, overexposing themselves, or their interpretation of an inviting look is a little too much of a come hither stare. So then they get a lot of people that's approaching them, maybe in particular for sex or something else. When, if that's not the message you're wanting to convey, really take an editor's eye and look at your photo and ask, is it conveying what I'm wanting to attract on my profile? Men as well, you and all the fish. I wrote an article about this. I'm not sure how many women are out there that love a picture of a bloodied fish, or that's enticing for them. If they are, that's great. And if that's what you're looking for, wonderful. But if you're wanting a different kind of gal, you might want to reconsider the photos of tigers and fish. Yes?
Or even shirtless, right? The shirtless look isn't really all that hot. Because, maybe you do have a great body, but we want we want to know that when we meet you. That's not necessarily the very first thing we want to know about you. It then gives me an impression that that's all you've got going for yourself is a hot body. And maybe that's not what I want. I want a relationship with some depth and quality. So knowing that you don't have to present that way, I'm more open to seeing more of what you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. How many photos do you recommend that your clients have on their profile, Nicole?
I say between 5 and 7. And you got to think about, like, the least photo that's good looking or photogenic is the one people are going to remember you looking like. So of those 5 to 7, make sure they all are really great and that you like them. Not that they're like, oh, that one's okay, I'll put it up there, because the rest are great. No, that one that's not so great will stand out. So you want to pick ones that you like all of them. So if you don't like them all, put less. And in one of those, you really want to make sure you have a full body photo so that we get a full impression of who you are. You're not hiding. You're not pretending you're something you're not. I tend to find when we click our profile of what we are, we might over-exaggerate or under-exaggerate. And so a photo will really tell the truth. As well as you want to show a bit of things that you enjoy doing, that you actually do have a life that you're enjoying. And so photos of you being active is really key. Oh, and avoid
active
photos
and social.
Yeah, right? Social, having fun, but avoid the photos of like the sunset or your cat, or because that really doesn't tell me anything about you. It's just an aspect. So you really want to use those photos as prime opportunity to showcase and highlight you, not maybe things about you.
Yes, or the quotes or anything else. I mean, you can start sharing your beliefs about those things in the content of your profile, but not necessarily in your photos. Yeah, and I think sometimes people are hiding things in their photos because they're fearful that they won't get the attention that they're maybe desiring, or the people that they want. But I want you to kind of flip your mentality on that and be looking your best and putting all of that to the front so that people are very clear about who you are, and in turn you're attracting what you want into your life. And I think if you lead with that foot, you're creating such a lovely foundation at the very get-go about who you are, with the transparency and clarity about who you are, so there's no surprises or awkward moments later. So being really upfront about all those things, I think, is so very key. My personal opinion about photos, as long as they're all ones, again, that you like, is that you can put up as many as they'll let you, that show different aspects of your life, for sure. Because, I would hope that you have more than just 3 things going on in your life. So the more you can showcase of you, the better. I know POF in particular, I think, allows you to put up to 10, and then if you want more, you have to do a paid account. Same thing with OKC, and any research on sort of traffic and who's getting the most attention online are the people with the most photos. It creates a level of comfort for others because they get to see more and more of you and feel like there's a bit of a connection there for them already. So, God, photos are important. Tinder in particular, it's all photo-based. It's directly connected to your Facebook page. So, avoid the goofy shots where people can't really see you. Avoid the sunglasses, the hats, and all those sorts of things if you can. I mean, if it's showcasing a semblance of your style, then make sure you've got lots of other photos with maybe a hat or sunglasses off. But be really selective on Tinder and about what you're putting up there, because remember, that app was originally created as a hookup site. It has shifted and everyone's adopted it. So everything is on there now, and I mean everything. So your photos should be sending a very crystal clear message as to why you're on there and representing who you are and what you want to attract. And we're gonna jump into content. We'll dial back a little bit with online dating, with usernames and interests and those sorts of things. But let's get to sort of the meat of the profile, which is your written content. So what advice do you like to bestow upon your clients, Nicole?
Yeah, so I think this is the really key aspect to it. I find you really want to write yourself in a way that, the way I describe it is like a trailer to a movie. And so you don't want to give away the whole movie. You really want to give the trailer like some highlights, get some teaser going, get us excited and intrigued to want to know more. But don't give it all because then it's overwhelming. Or I'm reading a book and I want enough just to be able to know. So when I talk about how to write with my clients, I really tell them to write like almost 3 paragraphs that are mini stories, things that are about you. And you really want to write it in a way that is a way that it describes the person being with you. Like they could see themselves doing these activities with you so that it really draws them in. And when you're writing, a few things you want to avoid is using the word I a lot because it starts to sound very egotistical. So instead, try to change your words like we would, let's do, just jump right into the sentence instead of I like, I do, I cook. It just starts to sound all about you in a way that's not very appealing. So those are a few things. I've got lots more, but yeah, any ideas?
No, I think that's great. And I think it's about really sharing the root of who you are. I'm a big fan of people showing their sense of humor too. Humor is such an attractive quality in both men and women. So if you can write like you're speaking, it can really make a huge impact on people because they feel like you're building that foundation of a connection before you're actually getting into the messaging or eventually getting on the phone or meeting in person. So if they can get sort of a feel for your rhythm and timing and your sense of humor and you're writing in a way like you would speaking, then I think that's a great place to kind of jump off from. And speaking from the root of what it is that who you are and what you're wanting. So I think.
Can I interrupt for a second, Andrea? Can I add one thing? So before when you go into what you want, because that probably is a whole section, when you're writing, one thing you want to notice is we tend to write really general statements like I love hiking, cooking dinner, walking along maybe the seawall with a coffee in my hand. We all tend to write similar things. However, if you and I wrote that, Andrea, we'd have very different styles of what maybe a hiking would look like or a walk or even a yoga class. And so when you write, you want to really dive into what is it about that you're sharing it for? And what are the feelings ultimately you want to get? So for me, if I said hiking, so a general idea is if I love hiking on the weekends and let's say going for a walk along the seawall. So that's kind of general, right? Or that I like cooking. What I might say instead is I love for us to be climbing up a medium hike where we're sweating, and at the top we share this great picnic that we decide to grab on the way up. Now you're telling me a story, not that you're just hiking. Or if you love cooking, maybe you might say, we're gonna rub shoulders in the kitchen and create a recipe where neither of us know what we're doing, but we'll top it off with a glass of wine and call it a night. Like now you're creating a story as opposed to, I like cooking, I like hiking. It gives the reader an idea to draw them in, see themselves in it, and doing that with you. Sorry, just wanted to put that out there.
No, that's perfect. And it's like writing a good book. Could you imagine if people, when they wrote books, just put, I cooked dinner tonight. You're getting a little more flowerful and descriptive in what it is that you're doing to create that ambience that they're there with you. So I definitely agree. And using your humor in there as well. I mean, you could describe a hike with a ton of sense of humor and the foibles and things that would happen along the way that would even maybe relate people back to your level of fitness or your level of enthusiasm. Or if there's something that you're very passionate about in your life, which is something that I dig into with my clients when I do my discovery sessions, is where they light up. And so taking that energy and putting, finger to keyboard and making it happen there so that people get the essence of the things that really float your boat.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. And that's just it. It's the why. Like, why do we like doing these activities? And what does it mean to you so that you stand out? Otherwise, your profile is going to read very similar to the majority of other people out there. And now all you have to base that makes you stand out is your photos. So you really want this portfolio to read like you, so that people are like, oh, this woman or this man sounds really interesting, or I can see myself being with them doing that thing, because the way they write it sounds exciting. Otherwise, you're totally not standing out, and all you've got are those photos. So yeah, really key. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and two, when you finish writing your profile, again, taking a little bit of an editor's eye and stepping outside and reading it as if you were trying to attract yourself, in a sense. So you're looking at it and thinking, would I engage with that person? Is this interesting and exciting? Does that make sense or resonate with me? And is that going to attract what I'm wanting in my life? I think is really key as well, because we tend to get a little caught up in our heads sometimes, or downplay things, when I think you really should be, exploding yourself all over the page, if you will.
Right. I interrupted you. You're saying what you're writing when you want to talk about who you want or what you don't want. And I interrupted you.
No, not at all. I think it's important to write what it is that you're looking for, and the values that are really important to you. And again, that word that you just used, why. Really, really important to avoid negativity on your profile.
Yes.
I don't need a laundry list of what you don't want.
Yeah,
you need to be very clear and enthusiastic about what you do. But the don't contact me for this, or I'm fed up of that, or you men or women that do this, all that's painting is a picture of someone that is fed up, frustrated, or cynical, and that's not attractive at all. So please avoid bringing that negativity to your profile. I'm sure you see that out there too, Nicole.
I do, and I call it the wounded bird. So here's what happens. When you write like that, I don't want this, I'm not looking for a man who does this, or a woman that says that, like you said, we end up appearing like a wounded bird. We've been hurt a lot, and now we have to have a lot of baggage. And you know what can happen is you can have someone who'll come in, swoop in real low and be like, oh, I can rescue that person. I just need to woo them a little bit, get what I want, and then leave. So you're indicating the very small things that you need, and then all you have is someone who will come in, show that, and not stick around. You want to show and present yourself as this like really high quality person and who's got lots going on. And what happens is then you're going to create this bar almost, or this idea that, this joke I say is you're going to have the creme of the crop rise to the top. So the idea is you want these high quality people contacting you. And the way to do that is not dismissing all this negative junk that you may have experienced or don't want. We're coming across like you've got your shit together, you're super cool, and you're only going to date cool people. So we're creating that energy around that. And so, yeah, avoid the negativity. Just assume in your mind you're getting the best, and the best is going to contact you.
Yeah, because otherwise you're attracting negativity.
Yeah.
Was it misery loves company? Yeah. So really avoiding that. No, that's a great analogy there. Cream to the top. I love it. So let's talk about then, communicating and using the tool to your benefit. You've put up fabulous photos. You've done a total rock star profile. And then what? It goes up live, and do you just sort of sit, or how are you best utilizing that tool to reach out to the people that you want?
So my thought is, we tend to as women think, I don't want to pursue, I don't want to chase, I want men to come to me. And that's all really great, except for in the online world. I think you should toss that to the side, in my opinion, and be the one who's approaching and making a comment of the ones you're interested in, instead of waiting. And so what I mean by that is if there's someone you're curious about, or someone you want to engage with, or you think is good looking or has a profile you like, then start a conversation. And I'll share tips on that. But the idea is you really want to be the one that's initiating. As women, we can get inundated with a whole bunch of messages that we're really not keen on. So it's really important that you make that effort to put those messages out there. However, the key is once you send that message, or the wink, or the smile, the icebreaker, then it's hands off. Okay, you send the message and you're like, great, if it works, it lines up, awesome. You don't want to be that woman or that person, even a guy, being like, so did they check it? have they read it yet? Are they going to send me a message back? And so all of a sudden you start getting this needy feeling coming across. You just want to send the message and believe that if it's a great alignment, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm.
Right. So a little bit of the handkerchief method. You're throwing something out there and letting them know that you're interested, and you're hoping that they're going to follow through, but leave it alone at that. Yeah. So what are you suggesting that people are doing for their initial contact? Because there's a lot of hi, hey, how is your weekend going on out there? So there are more effective ways to reach out to people.
Yeah. I tend to find a great way to engage with men as a woman is sending a compliment, something you notice about their profile, a compliment, asking their opinion about something, recognizing something on their profile that you're commenting and asking a question. You really want to draw them back. Never send messages that are like, so I saw your profile and I think we're a great match. Come look at mine. Or come check out my profile. Or I hope you like what you see. Because the idea and the reality is everyone who you even click on, whether you send them a message or not, is going to look at who clicked on them. So you don't need to tell people to do that. So avoid those messages. Instead, send something that's going to draw them in towards you, that you've actually taken the time to read something in their profile and make a comment, a compliment, a question about it, or a statement. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so open-ended for sure. You don't want yes, no, or you want to start creating a dialogue. And I think like what we touched on in the meat of the profile, making things specific, be specific in how you're reaching out as well. Mm-hmm. Anytime that you can acknowledge that you've taken the time to read someone's complete profile is already a tip of the hat of respect, and that you've taken the time and effort to initially find out more about that individual. Instead of blanketing and sending out mass emails, taking the time to do a search aligned with the things that you're specifically looking for, and then taking the time and thought with each email that goes with it. Because the amount of effort that you put in will come back to you if you're putting that detailed care into it. I full-heartedly believe.
Yeah, I agree. I think for men, I know from a lot of my male clients that they've sent a lot of messages, and they kind of assume that women just sit back and get all the messages coming to them. And I think on some level, there's some element of truth to that men are doing a lot of the effort and making it. And I can see how frustrating it would be and annoying and why it's easy to want to do blanket statements. However, if you really are interested in a woman, or there's really someone that sparks your interest, take that extra effort and find something about her that you like. It'll take you that much further. And just trust that the right lady or the right connections out there, in continuing to make that effort, it'll pay off for sure.
Yeah, and specifics for sure. I mean, if you see a photo and you enjoy it or something about it resonates with you, speak specifically to what that is. Men are very complimentary out there, but it's a lot of, hey, beautiful, or you have a wonderful smile, which is lovely. But if it's more specific, it doesn't feel like he's not saying that to absolutely every person out there. And women too, make it about, look for what the man is trying to share in his profile and what's meaningful to him. And again, if that resonates with you, then communicate that in your initial email contact that you make, as opposed to it being about the physical, which unfortunately a lot of the time can happen online. So you really have to be clear about why you're on there, and keep that top of mind when you're communicating with others as well. I think is really important.
Yeah, I totally.
So we've had a question pop up in the corner here from Broken Camera. He says, "Why do women always post pictures of them with other men? Is that ridiculous?" What do you think, Nicole?
Is that ridiculous? Yes, I do. Because at the end of the day, men see those pictures and they then put themselves next to those men and tend to compare. Not consciously, they're not looking like, oh, am I like him or not? But subconsciously. So ladies, avoid those. You're looking for a new guy and you're giving mixed messages of the type of man you're maybe looking for. Is he an ex? Like, you play a really muddy area. So keep it clear, keep it clean, and just keep photos of you. Not even photos with girlfriends even, because you're now, again, drawing the eye to another woman where you want the attention on you. So choose photos solely. So yes, I'd agree, Broken Camera, ridiculous. Keep it solo.
I would concur, yes. And men, same goes. You know, if you need to explain who's in the picture with you, the photo probably shouldn't be on your profile. Same thing with children as well, everybody. Kids come into the play later. If you have children, you can be honest about that in your profile when it asks the question. Yes, I do have kids. But who they are, age, and all those things should come into play once you've established a relationship with someone that you trust, and then that sort of information can be shared. Putting them right out there on your profile, you know, baby or 10 kids, if it's your niece, nephew, or if it's your own children, it's best just to avoid those photos altogether. Again, it makes things muddy, as Nicole just said.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
Great. As a married guy, I would be an expert on dating sites. Well, I'd love to hear more about that, Dean. Did you want to hop on and share with us some of the wisdom that you would bestow upon others? I think, you know, using the things that work well for you in your relationship or even in past relationship, if you keep those things in mind when you're interacting with others online. Unfortunately, what I see happen a lot of the time when people are online is they're saying or doing things that they would never do in person. And also keep in mind, too, that if you're reaching out to someone, they may be on and off of those sites at different times than you. So if you're not getting a response, I think, Nicole, you touched on this earlier, to leave it well enough alone. But I see sometimes when someone's not getting a response that they're desiring, they are going back and either shaming that person or trying to start a negative dialogue. So, you know, we know what that's going to turn into, right? And it might be something that you want to evaluate about yourself if you're operating from that place. Have you got any comments on that?
Yeah, I would agree. And the other thing I was going to add to that is I have a lot of people say, well, I haven't heard from them in like 2 weeks or 5 days. What do I do? Do I send a message back or do I dismiss it? And I think online dating, the rules are so blurry because people are meeting people and sometimes your box gets full and you might have forgotten to get back to that person, or you saw the message and you liked it, but you ended up getting busy at work and the new messages came in and you lost it. And so all of a sudden you go through and you're like, oh yeah, I really like that person. I gotta send them a message, but it might be a week or 10 days out. And so we tend to be a little bit judgmental, like, oh, they're obviously found someone or they're not what I want. And I think it's at this stage of the game, it's open. You wanna just stay open and see what happens. And the idea is you really want to take it from those first initial conversations onto the phone anyways. You really want to take it so you get to know more of who they are by listening to their voice. Your intuition will tell you. But writing people off so quickly is a little bit hard because there's this system, I guess, or platform can get really convoluted and you can get missed.
Yeah, well, organizing your inbox is important too. If you're going through, and actually before I go into sort of this suggestion, if you're getting a lot of emails from people that maybe are not aligned with what you're looking for, how are you suggesting for people to navigate their way through those? Should you be responding to everyone? Should you not be? What do you think?
Well, my opinion, I find when people just say hello or hi gorgeous or I like your picture, like one-liner sentences that don't feel very authentic, I dismiss. I don't respond if I'm not interested, or I tell my clients not to respond. When someone's made an actual effort, read your profile, you can tell they wrote something nice and something specific. That person might not align with you. You're not necessarily attracted to what they wrote or their picture, whatever the case may be. I believe it's really great to send a 2-sentence saying, thanks so much for the compliment, or thanks for reaching out. Very sweet of you, or thoughtful. I just don't feel we're a good fit, but I wish you the best of luck. I really find when people made the effort, I think it's good karma, if you want to say, to send the effort back. I believe it's a neutral or a beneficial that way. Mm-hmm.
I don't mind, or I would say even encourage people saying in a little synopsis at the end that, you know, if you may not be responding to everyone, please know that it's a matter of you not being a good fit for me, but I think you're a great fit for someone else. and I wish you the best of luck. It can become very labor intensive if you are answering every single email that you're getting. So if you're doing a little sign off that way, that might be a great way to manage your online profile. We've got Joan that wants to hop on. Oop, Joan, come back. I missed clicking on you. But I think you really want to keep online dating. It can become a full-time job. So really managing it in a way that it doesn't become overwhelming. And unfortunately, sometimes even when you're politely saying thank you, but no thank you, it can be taken as an invitation, and then a whole other dialogue comes up. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, what was it that didn't work, or I'm great, or anything else. So I subscribe to the school of not, but again, I think earlier you touched on something that's really important, is using your intuition when you're working online, and really seeing how it feels best for you. But it can become quite labor intensive for sure.
I would agree. Absolutely. Yes.
So I've got messages coming in from everywhere here. Joan, if you're still out there, please try and hop back on. I'd love to hear from you and see what question that you have. I invite anybody else right now as well, if you'd like to hop on and ask any specific questions or share any online dating experiences that you've had that you might want a little bit of help with. You definitely want to take advantage with both Nicole and I on tonight. So maybe share a little bit about the programs that you have been running, Nicole, and what you're offering.
Yeah, so I work with clients one-on-one to help them through this process. So whether we're meeting in person or over Skype, really answering these questions, figuring out what you're looking for, how to find that person, how to write that profile, looking at your photos. I find also, like, we tend to, I think you kind of mentioned a little bit, when we've had past experiences, sometimes that can block us from getting what we want because we're holding on to some of our past relationships, some of our hurt. So a lot of that is helping clients break through from that so they can actually attract what they want and not another repeat of that same relationship in a different body. So it's really getting clear on that and creating the space. Otherwise, you could be going on all these great dates and either getting the exact same experience again or not getting at all what you want. And so at the end of the day, you really want to clear it so you can have it. So that's what I do majority of the time with my clients, is clearing space so you can be really in a line. The word I use all the time, I say in a line or next. And I even use this hand space, and next. Because the idea is you want to find someone that fits with you. And so by creating that space, removing the past, you have that opportunity to do it. Mm-hmm.
That's great. So you're running events fairly on the regular, but then people can do one-on-one coaching with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, you betcha. Yeah, people who aren't local or people who want more than just the events where that are happening. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So events that are like, I have one called the date night, which is asking questions about dating, men dating and everything in between, similar to this. And then the online workshops, and then some courses I run about all about how to, what I call, reclaim your power, embody that power, and own that power. So yeah, all about this space to be in. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I've had thoughts sort of floating through my head as we've been talking, and there was one thing that we touched on earlier before that maybe we can dig into a little bit deeper. We had talked about sort of response time online. Yeah. And I had a friend reach out to me today who had an epiphany about, everything's so fast-paced today with social media and all the information that's available to us. We can slip into places of, overwhelm or, grass is greener, not being able to keep our focus. I think when you're using online dating, and especially Tinder, because it's just person after person after person, and it's a little bit like online human shopping, that you want to be very clear about what it is that you want. So if you have a great individual that has made the time and effort to reach out to you, I would make it a priority to respond right away. And if you start a dialogue, to maintain that dialogue like you were speaking to them in person.
Yeah.
So that if something comes up, whether it be something shiny or you have to leave for dinner or something else and you're having to leave the conversation, that you would leave it in a way as if that person was in front of you. And if you start utilizing all of your dating tools, really importantly, your online dating tools, and even when you graduate to texting each other, that you always keep that in mind. This person might as well be right in front of me, so I want to communicate in a way that I'm expressing what I want to clearly. If you need to use emoticons, do it. But that you are stepping out of the conversation and into it, or when you might see them again, or ask if you feel like you've established enough of a foundation to move it to another form of communication that works really well for you, via text or getting on the phone. I'm a big believer that you can meet someone, if you're excited about that individual and you start to build that foundation, to get off online really as quickly as you can, as long as you've created the context that it's good to do that in. So I talk the 2-2-2 method. It's a little bit back and forth communication while you're still online, to texting and a phone call, to then your final 2 is creating a date and time and committing to that. Vancouver, where we are, and maybe some of you can share your experience wherever you are and what city you're in, is there tends to be a lot of flakiness. So people don't follow through and do what they're saying they're going to do. And the problem with that is that you're teaching the other person that that's the kind of individual you are, and that meeting you is not a priority. And I think in this day and age, with things moving so fast and there being so many people, that it's really important that you make connecting with people a priority. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree a lot with what you're saying, that you really want to, meet in person is key. And I like the 2-2-2. I think that's brilliant. I think that's a great way to think about it. When I work with my clients, I really say that you want your emailing, conversing back and forth on that site to be short and sweet, because it's really hard to read what the other person is saying. And we tend to read it with our paradigm or our glasses, our perceptions, and so we can miss a lot of communication. So I love to get people off within really fast time. So it's like communicating 3 to 4 messages. Ideally, try to get onto that conversation on the phone, because I believe on the phone you're going to pick up a lot on their voice, what they say. Are they kind of aligning up? Your gut starts talking to you. You'll get a good feeling or not. And then meet. I say you really want to meet in 5 to 10 days in person, because if you end up just staying on email or even texting, what happens is, as women, we start building a story of who we think you are by what we read, and we start elaborating, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. We share more, we get vulnerable with you, and then we meet you in person. We're like, oh my God, like, who are you? You're the one I've been talking to? And we get all nervous, and it's awkward, because all of a sudden we've shared too much too soon. And then when you meet in person, it feels really weird. And it takes a while to catch up from that vulnerability or that sharing to now being in reality and in flesh. So my idea is to like shoot off a few emails, get on to like texting briefly, and then on a phone conversation, because that way you don't miss communication. And when you're chatting on texting and emailing, really keep it short. So it's almost like you're just trying to get them onto the phone, or you're just going to get them into that date, so that the base isn't so much convoluted. I love that word, because then you don't misread it. So yeah, and I think with emojis you were saying, Andrea, is really great. Creating that foundation, being authentic, and then get it real. Get real quick. That's kind of the way I want
fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And lots, getting to the phone really quickly too, I think is important. Timing, tone. We girls are really big on the sound of your voice and what it does to us. So that's really important too, getting on the phone right away. But again, even on the phone, don't talk for hours and hours, because when you finally meet each other in person, you want to be able to have something to say. And I'm just going to touch on the coffee date a little bit too. Coffee date's starting to get a little old. And
Yeah.
what I hear is that people are almost interviewing each other. So they're showing up and they're sitting down with someone. They're kind of grilling them with a bunch of questions and sizing them up. They're not creating a space for the person to be who they are, or even allowing yourself the space to be who you are, and keeping it relaxed. And when we're sitting across from each other, it can get a little intense. And that's when nerves come up, and we might either get a little challenging, or we might even shut down. So what I encourage everyone to do is, you can still have coffee if you're a coffee lover and you want to do that, but grab a coffee and go for a stroll, or do something active in the sense that, you're not breathing heavy, but go out for a walk in the city, not out in the woods with strangers, please, but that you're getting out and you're walking side by each. It's a safer space and it's not as challenging. And taking the time to connect that way. If you want to sit down on a park bench and have a conversation side by each, that's great after you've had a little bit of a walk. And it's also an easier way that if it's not a good fit or there's some discomfort, that you can both very gracefully bow out without being stuck at a little table in a very busy coffee shop. What do you think,
Absolutely.
Nicole?
I would totally agree. I think those are brilliant ideas, because what happens is when you're facing each other straight on, it's really awkward because you have eye contact and you're really looking at each other, and it does become like an interview. Even if you're in that coffee shop, I should say, if you can angle your body so you're kind of half sitting, even just opening it up, that'll even make a difference to shift the energy so it's not so direct. And so going for a walk is brilliant because now your energy is like this. Is not forcing each other to be at it. So it creates this open space. So it's a great way to do it, absolutely. And then some of the things you want to think about, at the end of the day, when you're with them, you really are trying to get to know them. And yes, where they work, where they live, what they do on the weekend, what they do for fun, sure, those are valuable, but they're not really telling you who they are and what they're about. So we want to go a little deeper. So I tend to get my clients to ask bigger questions, kind of like weird questions, but they get you thinking. So something like, if you were to quit your job tomorrow, what would you do? Or if you were to jump on a plane, where would you go? Like the idea is you're trying to get a sense of who they are underneath all this and a sense of what they value, what's important to them. And so asking those questions. And not only that, it actually creates chemistry because all of a sudden you're starting to feel this excitement talking, you're sharing your passions, you're kind of like high energy. And what you're going to do is you're going to associate that feeling good to that person. So when you're on a date or on these meets, you want to get that other individual feeling good because they're going to assume or associate that it's you that's making them feel good. And they're going to naturally want to be around that energy. So asking questions that aren't like an interview will create that chemistry and build more so you have something that leads into a second date.
Yeah, so very true. I mean, what's the saying that people don't, they remember how you made them feel. So I think that's really key. Yeah, that's Absolutely. A great tip. Yeah, and getting outside the stuff. If you're concerned about qualifiers for you, then you can address those things on the phone. Lots of people are saying, I'm tired of going on coffee date to coffee date to coffee date. Well, then, qualify who you're speaking with a little and making sure that you guys are aligned with, whatever's important to you, whether it be family background, values, if they have the same sort of lifestyle as you can ask all those questions while you're on the phone so you can get to the really fun and juicy stuff when you're meeting people in person. I think that's really key and important because it becomes too much of an interviewing process. And that's a meet and greet, everybody. That's not necessarily a first date. But what it would be great to do, and I encourage both men and women to do this, is that if you've had a really lovely time in your first sort of meet and greet and connecting with the other individual, then tell them and take the leap and ask in that situation and express that you would like to see them again. Lots of people leave their first meet and greet or even their first date and they're a little unsure as to where they stand with that individual. So I think it's really important that you're expressing your intent, even just letting them know that you really enjoyed the time with them. And then if it's more within your comfort zone to follow up with a phone call after, ideally, try to avoid texting if you can, is really key because we're all feeling a little unsettled or insecure in those initial days. So anything that you can do to make the other person feel comfortable, that energy will be reciprocated more often than not.
I would completely agree. Yeah, because what you're trying to do is get that feeling to know that you're open to more and that you want to continue. And then the key is then indicating it, and then also just not sitting back, but not being anxious. And so it's that feeling really comfortable, confident that if it's meant to be, you'll connect again instead of being anxious and needy and wondering and getting into this weird headspace. So indicate that you enjoy it. I have a lot of clients say, well, how long do I send that message? Do I wait 24 hours, 48 hours? Like, when do I do that? And I think if you've gone for a great connection or a great meet, even that evening or a few hours later, just saying, hey, I had a really great time. Love to do it again. Let's make it happen. Let's set it up. Like something that's really general, but it indicates that they had an impression on you. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're coming to the end of our hour, and Nicole, I know you have to jet for something at 8. So I'm going to say bye to everybody tonight. We'll do a quick little wrap up of kind of what our hot tips are for this evening as to the key things to be doing online to get yourself to a date and attracting the people that you want. So we talked about photos being so key. I encourage you to have up as many as you can, photos that you really like, that are showing a happy individual, that shows you in your entirety. So avoiding hats, sunglasses, and so forth, that you've got a lovely smile on your face, a great headshot, a full body shot, and you doing things that you really enjoy. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think those are really, really great tips. And then the idea, my last final part would be is think of this as practice. Take the pressure off, right? Like just breathe, right? Like you're out there to have fun. Yeah. And I think we put a lot of pressure on like trying to find the one that is not fun. So if you think about online dating as an opportunity to engage with the opposite sex, to have conversations, to practice these questions, practice body language, opportunity to just be around the opposite sex and not feel awkward or self-conscious, that's perfect. That is success to me, and that's success to my clients. Because you know what? When you take that into the real world, like meeting them naturally on the street or at a house party or a networking event, you're going to be that much more comfortable and at ease. You've used the online dating world as your tool. And so if you meet someone online, awesome. I'm really happy for you. But if you don't, it's not a waste. It's an opportunity that you've learned to practice being you and take that into other elements of your world, your life, and wow, it will really open up. And so, yeah, that should take the pressure off, right? I'm helping you breathe through this. It's okay. Have fun.
Yes, dating should be fun. And yes, breathing's very important. But dating should be fun. It should not be frustrating or difficult. So using it as an effective tool to just reach more people and practice. I love that word. Practice, practice, practice. And there's no really doing it wrong. It's doing what feels right. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's been great.
Excellent. So thank you, Nicole, for joining me tonight, being the first in the series of talks that I'm doing during the month of love of February. You can find me here with each of my guests every Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Next week, I'm going to be joined by Nicholas Badminton, and we're talking about falling in love, the biology, psychology, and all the other goodness that comes along with it. So I hope you'll join me then. We'll put another link in the comments as to how you can find Nicole and myself should you want to learn any more or get any support in your dating life. And we'll sign off now. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks again, Nicole.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.